at least in the white community, it just seems to be ignored. And that wasn't a thing. Yeah, that was happened such a long time ago, but just like healing from personal things, we have to also heal from lineage things. And that's something I haven't really done before. Not
That
that I
is
didn't
so
want to, I
real.
just like the opportunity wasn't there. So this was like the first time that I'd really done that kind of healing around lineage work.
Welcome into episode 4, Building Consciousness with Jaguar and Jay. On this episode, we tap into facing ancestral scars, healing, and manifestation. You're going to want to pay attention. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned. Breath, man, I haven't seen you in, what's it been, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Dude, how are you, man? Talk to me. How was Awaken?
I'm doing good. Awaken was great.
Yeah.
So I didn't look up anything about Danny Morel before going. I was kind of happy to go into it blind because like whenever I go into something and like it finally becomes like a yes from the spirit, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, whatever's here for me is whatever's here for me. I don't need to like know everything beforehand. And what my friend had told me about Awaken beforehand had given me this impression that like, it's pretty intro level stuff to like self-development and spiritual work. And after going, I still feel about that same way. But even in that, I still was able to get a lot from it. And then the breath work that they do at the end of every day was fucking incredible. I'd never really done that level of breath work. Like just 3 rounds of 15 minutes of the same breath work all 3 days. And it was really powerful. Day one, we just did like a very simple like in and out breath when everyone's just to focus on the belly breathing. And he said that if your hands kind of lock up or like do weird things, don't worry about that. That's normal. And
Yeah.
so day one, that did happen. My fingers are pressing on each other to the point that I got worried that they were gonna break each other. I was like, but he said it's normal, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. And there really wasn't much of anything like really that profound that came to me, except just it was a really good kind of clearing and focusing and staying on one task with this breath work. And the second day, the same thing started happening where the hands locked up, but then my arms also locked up to be like up here. And then my legs started locking up. And had I not been laying out flat on the ground, they would have like curled up underneath me. But that day it became really painful. Even the first day, I was worried about my fingers breaking each other. That second day, it was all really painful, just everything. I was like, what the hell? Like this sucks, but it's okay. You'll just surrender to it. It's fine. It's fine. And then he encouraged everyone to really use your voice on the breath out. I've been doing as he had encouraged, but then as he encouraged people that time, it changed from an awe to more of a roar. I was like, and as I started doing that, my friend who is next to me, I heard her start vocalizing as well. And then something about in the moment that I heard her vocalizing, something dawned on me about how pain is all in your mind and how it's not the experience or the change or the lesson that's painful, but it's the resistance to it that's painful. Life doesn't have to be some big, bad, painful thing. Yeah, pain will come, but it's your resistance to the change that becomes that true pain point. And so I was like, am I resisting this? Or that's what's happening? So the moment I had that thought, I was like, okay, don't resist it. I went into true surrender, and then all the pain just went away within like 5 seconds of having that thought. It just left. Then over the next 10 seconds, my hands and my arms all released, and all of that tension was just gone. And I was able to just lay down normally and flat. And I just felt this deep vibration through my whole body as I just continue to breathe and like make this sound. And it just became so beautiful and so peaceful. A moment later, I dropped out of breath work for a minute because I just started hysterically laughing because I just had this moment of, I just straight up overcame the pain of that moment. It was gone. It was the coolest experience because I had never felt such intense pain just fade. Then the final day, of the breath work, we did what we did the second day, which was a into the belly, into the chest, then out, all of it. Just a full dump. But the final day, we did that same pattern, but we added a hip thrust, feet planted firmly on the ground, and then on the in, thrusting up, and then dropping yourself back down on the out. And so it was that for all three 15-minute rounds. And I had this moment of thinking like, oh man, this is going to be this is going to be this is going to be challenging. It's going to be a little painful because I mean, doing hip thrusts that weight for 15 minutes straight, like that's a
Oh, that's
lot.
tough.
Yeah, didn't feel a thing. I could feel my muscles reacting to it, but there was no pain at any point during it. And I thought that was so cool. And I had this moment where my grandmother that I never met because she died while I was in the womb, she came to me and I had this moment with her where at first I was really upset with her and I was mad at her for abandoning me. And I never realized I was mad at her about that. And then she took a moment and was like, "Hey, I understand, but that's not what happened. Like I never left. I've always been right here." I was like, "Well, what about granddad? You left him and he survived on, remarried, he never got with anybody else." He was like, "Yeah, because I was right there with him the whole time and he knew it. So he wasn't worried about it. He just was continuing on about life until it was his time. And now he's back. Yeah, it's all fine." I'm like, damn, okay, wow. And like so much of that resentment that I didn't even realize was there just got released in that moment. And then I recognized that I also had a really heavy charge against my other grandma, who is currently my only grandparent who's still alive. But we never really had a great relationship. And then after my grandfather died, that went from not a great relationship to absolutely zero relationship, which sucked. But also, there was this weight of, okay, I'm no longer hoping for, waiting for, wanting your approval when it became zero relationship. I had this moment in the meditation where I recognized that, yeah, that reaction that she had and all that, this was just coming from a really deep pain point that she had. And so much love and compassion came up for her. And unfortunately, I'm not likely to ever have a relationship with her while she's still alive. And that's okay. But I at least got to have this moment of just letting that go and just still having this love for her. And then Danny took us through this visualization exercise where we saw a child on a playground that came to us, and it was um, our inner child that came to us, and we held them, hugged them, and then more children came, and there were our parents, and that was intense. And like I would just like reached out and I just kind of held them to me because it was about seeing, your parents in their most innocent forms, how they truly are underneath all of the like stuff that the years of life brought about and like put on them. And then he expanded it further to like now you see your grandparents behind them and great grandparents and on and on and on, just through the generations, like everyone behind. To me, as they all came, they were all coming in their childlike form, in their innocent form. And this resentment that I knew that I had about growing up white in America and all of the bullshit that the white community has done to the planet through colonization, through slavery, through decimation of native cultures. Like that's always been something I've had to just kind of live with, accept. But it would always been something I've just held in this kind of space. And all of that got released as well because I got to see all of these people in their childlike forms and recognize that they were only ever doing what they felt was right and best for them and their generations. And the majority of the time, they didn't realize or didn't know how what they were doing was based out of fear and or just super harmful to someone that really was truly on that same playing field through whatever social lens was enacted in that time. So I just got so much more compassion for my own lineage and my own ancestors. And so I just had this beautiful moment of just of gratitude for all of them. And I got to just be there with all of them and thank them all as if I was addressing a crowd. Hey, thank you for everything you chose and you did, everything you went through so that I could be here. And like I want to dedicate my life to like honoring that and moving things forward as best as possible. Because I truly believe no matter the life you've lived, at the moment of your death, you rejoin the all. But I truly believe that in that moment, there's true clarity of, yeah, you maybe didn't make all the best choices because you thought you were separate from everyone. And so I believe in that moment, you recognize the true oneness of everything as you're crossing over and rejoining in the all. And then once you were there, you join with the all, you're back into your full, most perfect form and most perfect self. And you can look back on your life and see the effects that you had. It's something that a friend of mine over this last summer was talking to me about how she never had a good relationship with her dad until he died. And then she could connect with him so much more because the love that he had was no longer this like selfish kind of love. It was actually just pure. And he was able to kind of come back and just be like, I love you and I'm here for you without any of the like selfishness that was ever there before. And like hearing that from her back then, like helped really solidify this. Damn, yeah, like once people cross, like you can connect with them in a whole new way, no matter what your relationship was with them in life. And so I got to really have that moment with my whole ancestry, which was powerful.
That is such a beautiful thing, man. I started diving into like, ancestral healing, connecting with my father, going through ancestral meditations and just different scenarios where the idea that if an ancestor had experienced some sort of grief, that could get passed down to me if it hasn't been addressed or processed. With my father, he came to me in a dream. This was late last year. And I thought I had released all the sadness that I felt when he passed away in 2021. And when I saw him in a dream, I instantly started crying, man. I started crying. I was like, Dad, I thought you left me. And he was like, I know, son, I know. And before or after that, I saw him with my mother and they were happy. I got to see what it's like for my parents to be together in a healthy connection, healthy dynamic. We were like in the field. There was like 8 clouds in the sky, kind of like when you're thinking about, I don't know if you've ever seen the Black Panther movie where they're in the field and like African safari, but the cloud looks a little bit darker. It was kind of like that, but without the African safari part in like townhouses. And I just remember the clouds being a little different, and like, the telephone lines coming up the ground, and me in the field with that. So I guess there was some 5G going on, but it was just so cool to see them happy, and then also too like to release whatever I had felt in his message. And this is what I love about ancestral healing, because my father's come to me twice, one through a mediumship course where a woman was connecting with him, and then through this dream. Both times he gave me messages on what to focus on in my personal life right now to feel more aligned with my path. So that's how, when I look at the pattern, his message has been about me personally, what to focus on. The first time it was about, I'll feel better about my life once I build my fortress, once I have like my home life together, once I build up the wealth that I'm looking to accumulate. The second time around, it was about how to focus on my work. I forgot specifically what it is. I have it written down somewhere. I love that, man. And my father, the first time he apologized because when he was here, he was also selfish in some ways that I both have to work through myself. We have some similarities with the selfishness. And I remember him apologizing for how he was with my mother, how he was with me, just in general. Just this idea that his soul is going through healing, and he wants to be a better soul. He wants to be a better person. He actually left with a really funny remark at the time I was dating someone. Yeah, and the woman was like, what's up with the number 17? And I remember I was 17, I went to his home, we played basketball, but like nothing memorable really happened. That night, the girl who I was dating came out of her room. She had on her nighttime shirt, it had the number 17 on the back.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool, like how they let you know that they're there, that they're watching, that they're still involved in your life, man. And that was a beautiful experience. I just laughed because that's my dad. My dad loved to talk to me about my dating life, and so for him to bring it up at the end it was so him, so him.
Yeah. Nice.
So you talked about the ancestral stuff, right? Here's another thought too. This came to me when you were speaking. I had this narrative that, okay, my ancestors were slaves. Some of them were, not all of them, right? Some of them. And so I need to heal from that because of things like epigenetics, right? But also I was, well, what about the slave masters? They also need to heal too, because any thought around inequality, whether it's the master or the slave, is a dis-ease in some way, right? They're both misalignment. So I love how you said what you said, bro, because sometimes I think, one group of people thinks or it's this idea of only one group or one person is healing when it's all of us. We all participated in it. So I love that you brought that through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. I don't know if it doesn't get talked about, or maybe I just haven't really run into it enough. But at least in the US, there seems to be just this, let's just skirt this off kind of thing. Let's just not talk about it. That attitude of like slavery, that was such a long time ago. But you still have people alive who the previous generation was directly in it or directly affected. It wasn't all that long ago, which means that same goes on like my side. I don't know whether or not people in my family participated or not, but I've definitely benefited from. I see it as the effects of like, I've always heard that when someone takes a life, it tears a piece of your soul and it messes with you for the rest of your life because it's so unnatural. I can understand that because I've hurt people physically and emotionally. And while they're hurt right there in the more obvious way, I felt that hurt also rebounding on me. It's like a lot of
Wow.
teachers will talk about how whatever you're giving out, you get back, which is why it's important to seek in a healing way, a positive way, and to not be throwing out disparaging or negative things, because when you're doing that, it's coming right back at you. I think it was the Four Agreements that talked about how words are magic, and if you truly look at them like magic, then what kind of spells are you casting? And to be aware of that,
Mm.
because the spells that you're casting, you're not just projecting them out forwards; they're rebounding as well. You cast them on the person and yourself. So if you're only ever casting things like, well, F this person at that person, they suck, they did this, then all of that is rebounding to you as well. And so when you take it in this kind of context, people in like the in the master position, they're constantly degrading people. They think that they own these people and like constantly abusing them, whether it was physical, sexual, or just the simple fact of owning someone. I don't care if you were
Mm.
like a good master and you treated your slaves well, but just this idea of subjugation of somebody, you're also being subjugated, you know? Something came up a little while ago about how like when we feel hurt or wounded, we throw up these walls to protect ourselves from the outside world, but eventually those walls become a prison. The thing that is protecting us is also then blocking us from actually getting out and being part of the world. And I think the same principle applies. If I'm sitting here saying, no, I'm lording over you, then I'm just as connected and just as damaged. Don't think that's really been handled very well, or at least I haven't seen it yet being handled well from the
Mm.
white perspective.
Mm.
Whereas there's at least conversations around it that I'm aware of within the Black community. How well the healing's been going, I don't know. I can't speak to that. At least in the white community, it just seems to be ignored. And nah, that wasn't a thing. Yeah, that was happened such a long time ago, But just like healing from personal things, we have to also heal from lineage things. And that's something I haven't really done before. Not
That
that I
is
didn't
so
want to, I
good.
just like the opportunity wasn't there. So this was like the first time that I'd really done that kind of healing around lineage work. And I just finished going through the booklet for Reiki level 2. And at the end of it,
Hmm.
it started talking about lineage healing as well. And so I'm intending to use this Reiki now to start going back and start doing lineage healing I can, start working on that. So that way I can more fully and more directly start healing this. So that way I can be free of it. And then future generations coming from me can also be free of it.
Man, that this saying that while any group isn't free, we all aren't free, or as long as one person or one group's like, I
Yeah.
feel that so much, man, because to your point, right, where there's one group of people lording over another, they are bound to that. And while there's a certain type of power that comes from that, neither group is truly free to be their sovereign selves. Neither group is free to be and to be what God truly called them to be. Neither group is free to do that, and that's something that I've thought about, even in a dating relationship. This idea of owning the person that I'm with, or I've had those thoughts, and it's like whenever I'm doing that, I'm literally attaching myself to something that may not be for me, or I'm perverting something that is for me into something that doesn't need to be. Because now I'm trying to control it, and how it works with control dynamics. It's not growth. It doesn't lead to actual sustainable growth. Man, I love the idea of you doing Reiki level 2 and jumping and using that for ancestral healing. That's actually a really cool thought. Something I hadn't thought of as a way of feeling it, but that's really dope.
One thing we talk about a lot in Reiki is how you're only limited by your own imagination. That's it.
Mm,
That Reiki can be used
that part.
for everything. And they go farther beyond even just physical healing for people. They talk about doing Reiki for animals. And while I was first diving into level 1, I did a little bit on my dog. He like, when I first did it, he like, looked up, he was like, what? Okay. He always back down. And I haven't done any of the new stuff that I've learned just yet. I haven't given that the time, but I'm excited about it because they dove a little bit more into directive if you're working with animals, when you're working with animals. But talking about animals you do know and you don't know, signs to look out for. But I thought it was really cool because like animals are so intuitive and so connected to energy that they're going to read your intention right off. And one thing they talked about is how when you're in the session, if the dog gets up and moves a little bit or starts adjusting, just pick your hands up and allow the animal to move, and then just put your hands straight back down. They're moving because they're like, okay, now you need to hit this spot over here. Now get over here. And I thought that was really beautiful. And they also talk about other things, utilizing Reiki to warm up the car battery on a cold day, and just all kinds of stuff. Huh, damn, like that's really cool. Sending out Reiki from a distance to calm somebody during a hard time. They talk about, give an example of like, your child has a test, so you want to send this Reiki to them. They still have to take the test. The Reiki isn't going to take the test for them, but it can calm them and help them focus to get the most attentive in that moment and the most present in that moment. And I thought that was really awesome. I'm loving this journey that that's bringing me to.
There are
I'm excited for the lineage work that they suggest as well.
there are so many branches of Reiki, man. I've studied over five. I forget the exact number.
Right.
So a couple of things. It gets to a point to where it goes beyond Reiki. It's now your own expression of moving the Holy Spirit through you, source, moving the energy of source through you. So colors change the healing frequency and what the effects of it, shapes change the effects of it. So if you're healing somebody, you imagine them in a sphere or a pyramid or a square, or healing them with white light, which is traditional Reiki light, or healing them with violet flame light, or with golden light, or with green light, all of that change, or with rainbow, with all the lights, it all changes the effect of the Reiki. And to your point, as the visualizations become more profound, more imaginative, as you take, like sometimes I imagine myself being in a different universe and like seeing someone's astral body coming above their physical body, and their astral body getting the healing itself. And then the cool things I've realized sometimes is like when I envisioned that, they were feeling that. Or when I saw certain colors, I remember one friend, I was healing her, and I think for her heart chakra, I saw, say, pink, and then I saw yellow for her solar plexus, then I saw white for some other chakras. And she saw those colors in that exact same order. Because when I mentioned it to her, I was giving her feedback, like, I saw those colors in the exact same order. It was the freakiest thing. And it comes in as sort of thoughts. It's very subtle the way it comes in, but it's so cool. So I think now with my Reiki now, I want to start to incorporate prayer, decrees, affirmations, having the person I'm speaking to take part in the healing themselves, because the more they take part, because we're just outright with a conduit, like it's really themselves and God, that source doing the healing. We just help to create the space for it. So the more they can open up to it, the more they can believe in it, the more they can participate in their own healing, the better. So these are things that I'm thinking about doing, and I haven't practiced that recently, but I'm excited to. I can't wait. Because I have all these
Yeah.
ideas, incorporate crystals. Now I have all these figurines. I have archangels that I can bring into the Reiki sessions. Literally, like I have a Jesus figurine where I was holding this figurine of Jesus yesterday, and I felt so much energy emanating from it, so much peace. It was so healing. Like I don't know if you remember in the Bible where it talked about this woman just by touching the hem of his garment, she was healed. It
Yeah.
felt like my own version of that. And that's how possible this stuff is. And Reiki is just one modality of so many, of endless modalities. Sometimes prayer is enough. Sometimes just the visualization is enough. Sometimes it could come through a food. It all comes from the same source, regardless, anyways. It's all source, it's all light, it's all love, just a different form of it, or different. It's all the same thing. And I think it's important to hone a few to start off. But I think as I'm starting to broaden my idea of what it means to heal, it comes down to belief. It comes down to faith. It comes down to, I think, the ability to allow and let flow and not resist. There's certain concepts that behind any modality, I think I'm starting to see are universal.
Yeah.
Down to, I say I want to heal this, I want to manifest this, but if I constantly am saying this, but subconsciously I have adverse thoughts, I'm now double praying. So that's why I'm not manifesting or healing when I'm saying I want to heal, because my subconscious thoughts are creating a different manifestation other than what I say I want to do. So I'm not manifesting, or it's coming a lot slower, or I'm manifesting what I don't want. I'm healing, instead of healing, I'm creating a wound that I don't want because the thoughts. So all of that goes into
One of my
healing.
teachers always encourages me when it comes to a manifestation. Yes, do the manifestation and put it out there, and then start living that it's already true. It's already done. Just start. So I'm manifesting some pretty big things that I don't know how long it will take to show up in the physical realm, but the things that I was doing in preparation to be able to do this on my own in the physical way, I've now let go of those, and I'm readjusting that energy or those resources that I was going to be directing towards this. Nope, that's not for that anymore, because that's already done. I don't know when it's showing up, and that doesn't matter. It's just when the time is right, it's going to show up, it's going to be there. And now the resources that I was going to put towards that, they're free to be and do something else. They're no longer for that. And so just like that living that it's already done because it is. It just hasn't shown up yet in the physical in this time frame just yet, but it's already done. And it definitely is a bit of a mind fuck to be like, how do you start living as if it's true already done when you don't see it just yet? And it's tough, and it's been tough to get in that. But let's say you're so one guy he asked for like, should I want a new truck, or should I manifest a truck, or should I buy a truck? And this one teacher that he was talking to is that's just kind of up to what level you're looking to like dive in on, you know? If you are, then do it. That's a big one. Do it, like do the thing. And so the example would be that like, if he's manifesting being given a truck, then any money that he was saving to buy a truck, any shopping that he was doing and looking online to see like where he's going to buy a truck, that just needs to end because it's no longer relevant. All of that money that he was going to be putting towards this truck doesn't need to be aimed towards this truck anymore because it's already his and it's going to show up. So okay, that money can go towards something else. And so the way I understand it is that's like living in the knowing of like, this is true. Has already happened.
I mean, I love to just touch on manifestation. Like I said, I remember talking to Kevin about this too. So a couple of things that are coming up for me. When it comes to, I think, manifesting and this idea of living in it, even though it hasn't manifested in the physical world yet, I think sometimes I'll speak for myself. Something I've been guilty of is is starting to manifest something visually and then switching it to something else and not holding that same image because either I wasn't patient enough or I wanted it right now, or I said, okay, or I wasn't even sure what I really wanted. So then I wanted something different. And so now I'm putting myself in circles and I'm basically creating chaos because I'm manifesting, I'm starting to manifest all these different things and not holding one image or one or a few things that I want to manifest for any given amount of time. So that's something that I think is important when it comes to manifestation is like staying, if that is truly what the heart wants to manifest, if that's truly in line with, a person's purpose, higher self, etc., holding that image in their mind and not so tightly that like it's like I need it or I have to have it. Because I think an idea of scarcity or trying to control how it shows up can actually mess it up. Almost like envisioning it and then letting it go. And then maybe I'll revisit that, the next day when I think about how I want my day to go or what my goals are, maybe I'll visit it again. But it's not something like that I'm like obsessing over. It's something that I will come back to in a way that feels intuitively right to myself. I didn't tell you this. I got a promotion.
You did. Yeah, you did.
Yes. Okay, I did tell you that. Okay, so this is my first promotion in my 14-year career. The other times where I've been in sales, I got into going to a higher job. So say that I left to go to another company on my own. I've had situations where I was a top rep before, but they didn't promote me and politics or whatever the issues were. And I definitely manifested this in my mind. And this is exactly what I did. It was because I had to do a presentation of my products and pitch what I knew. And what I did was when I was beefing up my presentation and learning about it, I would see in my mind each product. I would visualize, picture, have a movie go by of how it actually worked because I couldn't really articulate it with conviction until I could see it actually happening in my mind and how it worked for me. Because I realized we should charge this one. This is what selling is. Selling is being able to take an idea and put it in somebody else's mind, have them be able to see it for themselves, then you sold it. If they can't see it working for themselves, if they can't see it, it's not sold yet. But when they can see themselves in it, and so in order for them to see themselves in it, the better I can do that for myself, the more likely I'm able to do that for the person I'm speaking to. So now we're co-creating, now we're manifesting something together. So a sale is actually a co-creation of said goal, of said thing, whatever is being sold is actually a co-manifestation. And so when I saw how the products worked in my mind, when I was talking to the managers that are responsible for hiring me, I was able to take this picture in my mind and put it in theirs. The feedback was, hey, man, I love that it was a story. That's another important part of manifestation. What narratives are we manifesting? What stories are we manifesting? What stories are we attaching ourselves to? And are we realizing that we are the authors of our lives? And the more I become more conscious of this myself through journaling, through visualization, we truly are authors and co-authors of this reality that we live in.
Mm-hmm. I love that you brought that up in regards to sales because it's very true. And it's also very true for things like advertisement. And you're utilizing the masculine and feminine principles to do all these things. So the masculine principle of putting forward this idea, putting forward this energy, this initiation energy, and then the feminine principle of just always creating. What an advertisement does is it's basically utilizing the masculine principle and waiting and hoping and wanting your masculine to be asleep during this time that your masculine's resting, but your feminine is still generating because it never stops. And then advertisement comes and then it impregnates your feminine energy with this idea of go buy this toothpaste because it's all of this. And then that gets in, and then your feminine energy is just creating, yeah, I could really use a new toothpaste. Mine isn't really doing the whitening I want it to do. Yeah, so maybe I'll go buy this brand because that's the thing. And then that's that masculine principle that has then impregnated your feminine and then generates that, and then you go, and then that advertisement has gotten you. Same with that sale, you took this idea of this is the thing that's going to happen. This is that story, that narrative, and you utilize your masculine principle to impregnate their feminine energy to then generate it and then to go. And that's what we're doing with manifestation. We're utilizing this masculine energy to impregnate our own situation, the world, to then generate and then create this for us. And there may be like multiple people just kind of involved, but I mean, since the power of the all is limitless, you don't have to worry about like how big or small it is. Then it's just whether or not you are fully in and you believe it, or if you're not doubting, but like wavering and jumping off, like you were talking about earlier. Oh, you would detract it or make it smaller or something. So with this thing that I'm manifesting, I don't speak it out to many people. I think I've spoken out loud.
I can tell.
People, and it's not a trust thing. It's just simply I recognize that no matter what level somebody's at, there's always this chance that like they would hear what I'm manifesting and this bit of doubt would be there that it's even possible to manifest. And that little seed of doubt could be enough to then shake my faith in this manifestation. So it's something that I have it and it's there, but I don't speak it out because it's something that's for me. When it generates in the physical, then I will be willing to say, this is what I was manifesting. This is the thing. But it's something that's me guarding my own feminine energy in respects to this particular manifestation. I've only spoken it out to people that I know have that same level of faith and dedication in this kind of thing, which I believe that you do. But for the purpose of speaking on a podcast right now, I'm not about to speak it, because that's about to go to so many people who then blah, 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 blah. And so it's also important to remember that that's an important aspect of this manifestation as well. And far before I really dove into or recognized I was diving into the spiritual world, I was manifesting without even really realizing that I was manifesting. I grew up in this kind of wait for the better deal, don't buy the first generation of something, wait for the second generation kind of mindset. And in a way, it's a bit reductive to yourself to not go for the best or whatnot. But what it taught me actually was patience of like, okay, if you need something, go ahead and get it. But if you're wanting something and you don't really particularly need it immediately, then you can wait, then you can be patient. And so what I started doing was just simply like, okay, I want this thing. So for instance, my favorite example is when I wanted an HDMI cord for my Xbox way back in the day when everything was just switching from AV to HDMI. And I think I was like my second or third year of college when I was finally like, okay, yeah, I'll get an HDMI. But they were still expensive. And I was in college and I wasn't making a whole lot of extra money. So I didn't want to go buy one. So just put it out there like, all right, I want an HDMI cord. And I did nothing about it. I didn't really talk about it with people. I was simply waiting. And anytime that someone would ask why I didn't run my stuff off HDMI, I was like, well, I'm just waiting for the like one to come. One will come. And then I was walking to my car and I was walking through a parking lot and I stepped on a brand new HDMI cable. Still had the twist tie on it.
Wow.
But it had no packaging or anything else. It still had the twist tie, but no packaging. And there were no cars right there. So it didn't like, if it did just fall right out of the car, it was already gone. So I was like, nice. And I put that in my backpack and I went on about my day because there was my HDMI cord that I'd been asking for, that I'd been waiting for. And I had done that so many times through my life. I remember a friend of mine made this kind of offhanded comment about how I'm just the luckiest person that he knows. Things just come to me easily. And I was kind of like, in a way, but I also have patience. I didn't have the verbiage to just be like, yeah, but I manifested this. I put it out there, I fucking believed it, and it came to me. And so there's something about that, just like simple dedication of like, this is, and then not sharing it with the wrong people, not blowing it up to everyone of like, I'm manifesting all of these things. Great, you are, but keep it private. Even the Bible teaches, when you pray, do so in private. Don't go wailing on the streets, telling everybody your business for the attention of it. Make it a private moment. Keep it private to yourself. And I really believe that that's super important when it comes to manifestation. Believe it, trust it, and part of like living in this knowing that it's already real and it's already happened, I think is part of that releasing. This like I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know when it's going to come. I had this idea of what it might look like, and releasing the expectation of it's going to look like this. So like there was a specific image in my head when I first started manifesting this, but I recognize that like that specific image could happen, sure, but it might not. And that's okay. I just simply trust that like, the right version will be there at the right time.
That, man, I think that's so spot on. I feel super aligned with what you said. I want to touch on the manifestation and not putting it out there too soon or to the wrong people. Tim's story talks about having a green room. And that's a very, very close circle of people. Only a few people you allow into that space. The two people you told about your manifestation. Some like there's family members that don't make it to the green room, right? And then you have other circles. You have your friends and or whatever, and then you have an outer circle of people that's more like acquaintances, etc. But I think that's so important with manifestation, and it's so funny. So I'll be share this. My mother loved her. I love her so much. But when I am manifesting, and it's so funny because when my dad was alive, he had one of the same struggles. But when I'm manifesting, I've realized that I want to share with my mother after it's manifested. Example, I was moving to Phoenix. I was this close moving to Phoenix, Arizona. I shared it, right? I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to share this. Actually, this is going to actually make the episode or not, but I'm just going to go with it. I shared it with the person, my mother. I told her about within the next 30 minutes, an hour, to get a call from my auntie. And my aunt's like, Jason, I heard you're moving to Phoenix, Arizona. I want you to know that when I heard that, I got such a bad feeling about it. It's actually the same feeling I had when my daughter Shona was killed, and I didn't say anything to her. I want to tell you. So I wanted to tell you because I don't think you should move there. Granted, in this situation, perhaps I was being protected from something. I did look into it through like astrology and stuff like that. But I was pissed at how it happened because it was like the joy I had about moving somewhere that I love. I love Phoenix. I love Arizona. I love Sedona. Matter of fact, on my astrology chart, that's the one place outside of the Northeast where if I moved there, a lot of good things could happen, even though there's some dark things that actually came up too. But ended up not moving because I had 2 weeks to make a decision, and there was this doubt that I couldn't shake. And I knew that if I moved there, I had to be 100% in. I wasn't 100% in anymore. And there's been times where, because I felt like it was my mother or someone who was close to me, I felt like I was obligated to tell them what I want to accomplish because they're asking me. But I have to realize with my manifestation comes boundaries. With my manifestation comes some order there. And then if whether it's my mother or someone else, what I've had to share is, hey, I'll let you know once it happens. I'm in the process of manifesting, keeping close to my chest, but no, it's good stuff. And when it happens, I'll let you know something, whatever that is. And when it came to my job situation, I had to protect my peace and my space as well, because as I'm prepping for my interview, I had people wanting to commandeer my time because what they had in mind for me was priority over what I was doing. But when I thought about it for myself, that was not actually the case. And so this idea of okay, when we're trying to manifest something, order of priority is very important, because if I'm manifesting this and it's very important to me, but I'm allowing someone else to tell me where my priorities are, and that now pushes that back, I may not manifest the very thing I want to manifest. Realizing how we can get in the way of our own manifestations, I think, is very important, and really creating that space to manifest whatever that is quicker, faster, better, more clearer, with more trust, and not being attached to how it shows up, but also being able to recognize when it's there.
I heard this really good kind of practice manifestation. Some podcast, and I don't remember who put this out there. So apologies to whoever I'm ripping off for this, but I've been doing it myself, and it's been beautiful. Every time they're going to a parking lot, they'll say their name and they'll say, only good things happen to me. And they said that without fail, there's either always a parking spot up front within the first 5 spots, or one opens up just immediately. And I started doing that a couple months ago. I'd say probably October, November, something like that, and started seeing it work immediately the day I started doing it. And I don't always think about it now, but I do most of the time think about it because now there's already a space that's going to be there. I'm just not speaking it out as much. But like one of the early examples was one of my favorites. I was on this date and we left the restaurant. We were going to go to Piedmont Park to go look at the moon. And she found a spot, parallel parking. And then she parked kind of in the middle of this big parallel free space. So I rolled down my window and I was like, hey, back up a little bit. I'm going to like park right there in front of you. And so she backed up and she was like, are you actually really going to fit there? Because I have an SUV. I was like, is that really going to fit? I was like, yeah, I'll fit. The moment I got done saying I'll fit, the car in front of her, the lights came on and unlocked. And the dude came and got in and left within like 30 seconds. And her jaw just dropped. So I was like, you magical fucking being. And like, I was just kind of like, I didn't have anything to say. I just kind of like, yes, that's how this works. And I just hopped in the space. Originally, I was like, I'm pretty sure I have the skills to parallel park in this space. But I just had no doubt about it. No, that's my spot. And the moment I like, rather than doubting it, where she was just kind of like, are you sure? And I could have been like, yeah, maybe I should look for something else. I was like, yes, I will fit. Yes, that's where I'm going to park. The things moved that needed to move for it to be even easier. And that was really fucking cool.
That is so real. And that is so true. And so funny, man. There's so many parallels in our lives. I've been doing that too recently, especially over the last few months, especially because the person I'm dating lives in Brooklyn where there's not a lot of parking. And so I'm constantly like, okay, there's going to be a spot, visualizing a spot. Okay, there's a spot. And like whether someone's pulling out, or I remember one time recently, I walked out the building. There were no spots, and I walked farther to where my car was parked. And where the car was parked, you have to, because they do street cleaning between 8 and 8:30 a.m. So people go to their car, they sit in it. There was a little doubt, not gonna front, and normally you don't want to have any doubt, ideally. But something kept saying, Jay, just drive up to the front of the building. Then there's part of like, yeah, but I just walked past it. There were no spots. I tell you, man, when I said, I'm gonna go for it. When I drove, I turned the corner and I saw a spot right in front of the building. I said, man,
yes,
it works. It's real.
Yeah. I was just in Miami for Awaken. And on the last day that I had free, I met up with Kevin and he came to the area that I was in. So I told him where I was at. And I was like, so I'm at like this entrance. So either you let me know if you want to find a spot, we'll hang out in this area, or if you want to just pick me up and we'll go to this other area talked about. And he sends me a message back and was like, all right, I'm going to just drive around, like make the block. And if I find a parking spot, let's come meet you inside. And when I listened to that voice message, there was like no doubt. I just sat back and was like, well, there's no point in me going to the entrance because he's about to be right here. Like Kevin's a really powerful manifester. I was like, he just put it out there. Let me see if there's a free spot. Of course, there's going to be a free spot. And then he messaged me a moment later. It's like, right as I turned the corner, spot opened up. So I went and grabbed that. I was like, yeah, I know.
Dope. Very dope. Yeah, man. I think it's so cool. You know, another thing too, co-manifesting, co-creating with other people. Like as an individual person or individual people, we're all so powerful. Like I believe it increases exponentially when you get people together and there's like commonality, there's a shared vision. And that's something I'm so excited about as we come together as a people, as we come more into unity consciousness, as we get more into things like prayer and joint Reiki, by the way. I don't know if you've ever done a joint Reiki session. I've done those before. Those are really cool too.
But
It increases the power of manifestation, of the healing, etc. So much. I'm excited for that. We can change so much with that. And that's one of the reasons why, too, some of these we were talking about, slave master, racism, all these different things, and and such stuff. Like it's all around, as separation, because there's energies, there's a consciousness that knows, and that same consciousness I think is going to come in consciousness as well. I think we all are coming into unity consciousness, knows that if we all come together, like we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable.
Look at the world we've manifested. We've manifested this world because everyone was in this separation mentality and everyone was in this space of, I have to look out only for me. I have to only protect myself because I'm scared and I'm alone. And if I don't, then I'm going to die. And all of this fear. And so for hundreds of thousands of years, however long humans have actually been here, we've been manifesting this point of just fear. Whereas, like, I think that Native Americans before Europeans came to this continent probably did, in my opinion, the best job of living out of just pure love and connection for the land, for each other, and just to be in this fully actualized place, in this fully actualized point where they were really understanding what they were creating. You know, this one quote from a chief stands out to me, and I don't remember if it was one of the quotes that I'd heard that they don't even know who it was, but I at least don't remember who said this quote. But it's not going to be until the last fish is fished, the last tree is cut down, that you realize you cannot eat your money. And I love that, because this world will generate and keep generating and just keep going if you put that love into it and you invest it. And they were generating and manifesting all of this just abundance just by being, and like being good stewards of everything. Whereas we're sitting here now in this space of like fear, and I have to have more, and it's all the stuff around me that really makes me, let me put on the suit so now I can feel good kind of stuff, rather than just like understanding, no, it's this connection. And so I feel that we're in this manifestation hangover period of, we've been manifesting all of this for such a long time, and so many of us are still manifesting that same thing, but many of us are starting to wake up and start the journey of, okay, now we got to start this other way, now we got to start manifesting something else. And I think we're in this phase of where we're, the example that you used, you know, where you put out that manifestation, that possibility, but then someone sowed a seed of doubt. And then the example where I used, where I put out this manifestation and they put out this seed of doubt, we can either go the route of, yeah, you're right, and not do it. Or we can go, no, this is the way. This is still going to be the thing. And it goes, you know, like I feel like as a collective, I feel like we're in that space. Plenty of people are still saying, no, 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 like you're all full of it. We're all just gonna like be the worst. And we could, but we don't have to. It doesn't have to be our reality. We don't have to be doomed. We can make the difference. We can make those choices.
And man, when I think about manifestation, I think about the idea of abundance. And I've been really focused on manifesting abundance and also embodying abundance, right? Embodying success, embodying wealth. Like, and what does that even mean to me? And being able to see abundance. And like, I realize no matter what way I look, there is abundance. Even if it's something negative, like an abundance of lack, an abundance of pollution. Regardless of how you look at it, you can put abundance in front of it. An abundance of sky, an abundance of ocean, an abundance of blue, an abundance of green, an abundance of whatever, an abundance of people. There's abundance literally everywhere. And it's just, what type of abundance are we creating, which we can choose what that is. Yeah, right.
I love that. I love that. I mean, like, where you put your energy, like where your attention goes, your energy flows. So like, where do you really want it? What do you really want to do with it? I've really been practicing not speaking negatively about other people in any circumstance. And I'll give this example from when my divorce was going on, from when the split initially happened. I started calling and talking to my sister more, and bless her for what she was trying to do. You know, she was really trying to give me space to like heal all of it and age if I needed to. But she kept trying to get me to speak disparagingly about my ex-wife. And I refused. She kept trying to get me to say she's a bad person. She did all of this. She did all of that. I was like, no, I won't. Don't see her as a bad person. We had a relationship. It didn't work out. Yes, I got hurt for these reasons, but she wasn't making those decisions with this, like, you know what I can do? I could really hurt my husband if I make these choices. Let me do that. That wasn't there. It was something's not working, something's not right. What can I do for me so I can be okay? I recognize that that's where she was coming from. So even though, yeah, it did hurt, I had the compassion for her to recognize that she was still doing what was best for her. And so I refused to. And I love that practice because it fosters so much more compassion, you know? And it's such an easy thing to just speak disparagingly about other people. But I think that goes into manifesting this world we don't want anymore. Like, you're just talking about other people and these like Yeah, all of them are bad. This world would just be so great if only it wasn't for. No, we talked about just the other week on our podcast, or no, or was that the other? I think it was the other, the podcast that I joined on, that I was a guest on. That the current leaders of the world, of all these governments, yes, almost anyone could look up at them and be like, "What terrible people! How awful! They're all monsters. They're all evil. They're all this. They're all that." The same narrative that's been going on for a long time. Or you can go, who hurt that little boy? Who hurt that little girl? What wounds are going on
Mm,
there that are at play
that's
that's
so
bringing
good.
this out, that's bringing this up? Do you need a
Mhm.
hug?
Yeah. And I think what comes up for me when I hear that, literally I was working on this myself this week is divine love. Right. To be able to see somebody,
Yeah.
see through the behavior that we don't like or that I don't like, or the hurt that maybe that person truly has caused or seems to have caused. To see past all of that, to see past, a character flaw, whatever that is, and see the inner child, how you deal with your ancestral healing. To me, that's a form of divine love and do a whole thing on divine love and how to tap into that. But yeah, man, I think divine love is a part of our ascension process. I think it's something that's also embodied by the violet or purple ray. You probably heard of that before. It's somewhat using Reiki a little bit. So the color purple or violet has the energy of divine love, and I literally feel that in my body now. Maybe touch on that, but yes. And so by tapping into divine love, it allows me to now reframe things in my mind when this person did XYZ, but what if that actually led to them being able to do more good down the road because now they're free from this situation. Now they're free to do what they've always wanted to do, or now they have more space to create what they've always wanted to create and to achieve their vision and their goal. So like, I might hurt or mad about that anyways because I only want them to do good. Now they're able to do good. So I'm, coming from a place of more divine love versus my having to, versus possession and having to be all mine and my precious and all that stuff, and seeing how it's all worked together for the greater good.
Yeah, it's letting go of that expectation of what you thought it was supposed to be and what you thought
Mm.
it was going to look like. Just like what we were talking about with the manifestation. You're manifesting something, but it might not look like what you thought initially, and that's okay. What's there and what comes up and what gets manifested is what you needed. And whether you see it immediately or not, you will see that that was what was for the best. And I mean, in my life, the times of heartbreak are some of the best examples for me because with my divorce, like I'm now in a much better place, and I'm the kind of person that I had always wanted to be and had envisioned myself as, but I had no idea how to get here. And now that I am in this space and this being, I can now see more of who I want to continue to grow into and how I want to continue to grow because I don't feel like I'm at some end point. I still make mistakes all the time and I'm still learning, I'm still healing, I'm still growing. But I was stuck then. I was stuck in this kind of collegey mind headspace, this really selfish headspace. And then it wasn't until after that heartbreak that I was able to see all of that. And then I basically got into this point of I don't know what to do that I finally started asking people for help, which is something I never did before. So rather than thinking I can do all this on my own, I started asking other people and opening up. And then it was after the next heartbreak that I then opened up even more and I started asking for more help. And I openly admitted, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. I need help. And then like, immediately a brother reached out. We talked for 2 hours, gave me some immaculate advice. And then right after that, someone else in this group started counseling me very lightly, but
Hmm.
he is a counselor. But he was just doing it out of the goodness of his heart, wanting me to be okay. And that was beautiful because he was just ready and willing to do that. And that helped catapult me so much further. And now with that second breakup, I'm not in connection with that woman anymore, but I hear little updates from the community that we were both sharing. And I'm really proud of her because now it seems that she's doing the thing that she always talked about wanting to do, which at first it was really hard for me to let go because I couldn't take myself out of that scenario. I want to create this thing. And it was always me in my own mind of like right here, but I'm not there and she's creating it. And I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure it's everything that she's been needing and wanting. And now I get to just sit here and be like, good for you. I'm glad. I'm glad that I was a part of that to catalyze that for you, just like my ex-wife helped catalyze so much for me. That even through pain, there's still so much beauty and there's so much growth. And it's not until you hit that point of just holding it all with love. Might not understand it all right now, but that's okay. I'm just gonna be here and
And
experience.
that very thing happened to me where I put a thought out there and immediately somebody maybe not immediately when I look back at it, but it seemed like an immediate response. So this is the on and off situation that I was in before. And I was still holding on to, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but there were still like misaligned thoughts around it, right? And I've been doing so much healing. Was it Oh, I'm sorry. No, 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 no. Let me take that back. Let me take that back. No, 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 no. The issue was is actually something else. Trying to think how much I want to share. But basically, I had a little hiccup, and I was course correcting with myself. I was in meditation. I really put out the intention to heal this thing. And a person from my past, she had reached out to me, and she's like way younger than me, but one of the most powerful healers I've ever met in my life and does it naturally. She's been kind of like Kevin. She's been astral traveling since she was a kid. Doesn't even try to. Like, I actually mentioned this podcast to her. When I tell you, like, the stuff that we're learning with Reiki, she does stuff that is way beyond Reiki. When I tell you, like, she could put her hand, we don't got to be in the same room. I'll tell you exactly what happened. She sensed that one of my issues that I was holding back from wealth and abundance was jealousy, still in general, not just romantically, because maybe I felt like I was behind because I dedicated my time to the spiritual path. So I've foregone some materialistic things. So now I'm feeling jealous of those who maybe I've gone ahead and have more or seems like they have more, whatever that is. And I'm resenting myself for not being there too, whatever that is, just as an example. And she can pick up on that. I'm not even talking to her about that. And just from the frequency, like say she's hundreds of miles away, she can feel the frequency from where she's at because there really is no time and space and is course correcting it while talking to me about that or something completely different. But I know it's her energy. And then when I mention it, she's like, yeah, I'm healing that for you. You actually, you need it. That's actually holding you back. Bro, I didn't know that jealousy could be healed on that level. So when I tell you, so this was my spontaneous healing. So how you going to awaken? I had my own personal awakening this week to where this person literally, there's a part of my soul that felt broken most of my life. And I didn't even know how to describe it. I didn't even know what it was, bro. She healed it remotely.
Let's go. All right.
Bro, and she doesn't even know how she does it.
Yeah.
But when I tell you, man, there's a new level of confidence. And that's the thing too. When we come together, we truly are gifts to each other, man. Like, this, like how we're doing this podcast together. When I re-listen to our conversations, man, I gain so much more from it and like healing and remembrance, reminders. And we just all hold so much medicine.
Yeah, I have catch up to do for our earlier ones. I forgot to re-listen to that first thing you sent me.
No worries.
I love how you said that she doesn't even know how she does it. And that's so beautiful because I feel that the wanting to know how all of this works holds so many people back just so much. I remember when I first went to Shaman Ra, I didn't really believe in like oracle readings or things like that. I didn't really know much of what to think about it. But a friend of mine had really endorsed him so heavily and I was going through it and I didn't know what to do. She was like, just go talk to him. Have a quick like reading session, like something simple and just see. I go and I sit down and yeah, my energy's heavy because I'm recognizing how badly I'd really hurt somebody and I was really heartbroken on my own because of the choices I had made. And we hadn't talked about anything yet. We had shaken hands. I said hello and I came and sat in his office and he's like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clear my energy really quick. And then I'm just going to sit and read your energy from here. I'm going to tell you what's coming alive for me. And then we'll dive into the reading. I was like, yeah, okay. He does his thing. And then he starts describing what I'm seeing is a cord hanging down. And at the end, that cord is frayed and it's just spinning. And the more it spins, the more it comes loose. And the more it comes loose, the faster it's spinning. You're feeling like you don't know when it's going to end or when it's going to stop or if everything's falling apart. And I just was bawling by the end of that, just through him just sitting there speaking the thing out. And keeping that in mind as I've been growing and learning and recognizing that God speaking to us does not have to show up like we might think of it's going to be a voice of some big divine being or possibly some really ethereal voice, like whatever we have this image of, maybe, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just our thoughts. Sometimes it's our emotions. It's what comes to us. It's what's there in the moment. If we can get out of our own way of judgment and just let it be, without needing to fully understand why or how, that's when the most powerful and most potent stuff comes. I mean, I'm just finishing studying all this about Reiki, and they say it throughout the training modules that don't worry about the how. Just have faith in that it's working, because it's through the faith that it really happens. I'm also going back through the New Testament, because I mean, I've mentioned this to you before. I grew up like a very traditional Christian, was Southern Baptist, and I went independent kind of upbringing. For a long time, I just simply rejected everything about the Bible. And now I'm going back through it to reread everything that Jesus taught, or what the people who wrote about it, who in
Mhm.
most cases turns out weren't even the people that were there even next to Jesus, which is the even funnier thing to me. But these things that are being put forward, I'm rereading them under the understandings that I have now. And it's incredible the kind of difference that the message is. And so much of it is by your faith, you're healed. Jesus saw their faith and he said these things. It's the power that they're allowing to come through them, and it's the faith that they had that it was going to work in general that allowed it to work. So that woman you're talking about, she has faith that it's going to work. Does she know exactly what it is, and can she like break it down through for like a doctoral paper? Probably not. Doesn't matter. It works. It does the thing. She has the faith, therefore it works. The same with manifestation. If you have faith that it's going to work, then it's going to work. If you don't, it won't.
Wow, so much I want to touch on. The Bible thing. Let me see. Let's see if I can show it to you. Oh, okay. I've not read this yet. So this may get edited out. This may stay in. I bought this. This is the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Basically, it
I've
takes
never
the
heard of this
Bible
word.
and saying that book, How to Do All Things, when I was looking at where he, like, recommended readings, or, where he pulled from or something, I saw that book. And it spoke to me. And so I looked it up and bought it. So again, have not read it yet, so I can't recommend to read it or anything. But basically, my understanding is that it takes the Bible that we all know and puts it into like what Jesus really meant, or Jesus' interpretation of it. So I think so anyways, that's my understanding of it. But definitely going to dive deeper into it once I get to some other material. But I love that you're going through the Bible, man.
I've got sticky notes at the top of every single page. I've got one or two sticky notes with pretty small handwriting of this verse through this verse. This is what I like. This is what I'm getting from it. This verse through this verse. This is what I'm getting from it on every page. The top of that Bible for not even through the gospel yet, but it's just so fat with these sticky notes. And today I just finished The Mystic Jesus by Marianne Williamson.
Nice.
I talked about
Nice.
her another week when you mentioned A Course in Miracles, because what she teaches out of is the Course of Miracles, and then of course her understanding. But the primary thing that she's teaching out of is the Course in Miracles, and it was an absolutely beautiful book, and talking about how Jesus's message wasn't about, hey, I'm here to show you that I'm God. Now I'm going to die so that you guys can praise me. And then someday I'll come back in a physical form and handle all this Armageddon shit. The big part of the most, if I can try to boil it down, which is an amazing book that I'm definitely not going to do it justice with just a single boil down. But part of it that I loved the most was that she talked about that the Armageddon isn't just some one thing that like the whole world burns. I think we could possibly take ourselves there, but she was talking about how Armageddon is within ourselves, of when we finally die to who we were and what versions of ourselves that we were, whatever situation was going on. And then the resurrection is when we choose the new way, when we choose Christ consciousness, when we choose our connection to the divine, our unity with divinity. And then we enter in this Christ consciousness and have that access, similar to how Jesus had this full access, because Jesus was fully aware of his divinity and that connection, and therefore he had full access to it. Whereas many of us right now, and many of us back then, were just in this, I'm not worthy, of course I can't, no, it can't be me, no, and therefore just blocking everything that could be there. But when you look at the stories about how with the disciples, that Jesus blessed them to then go out and be performing the miracles, and they were doing it. They were doing it on their own. But then there were also times where they would have these doubts. And then Jesus was like, have you guys not learned by now? Why didn't you handle this? Like the storm on the sea. All the disciples are freaking out, thinking they're all going to die. And they wake up Jesus and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you worried? And I love it because it feels like somebody kind of like woke me up for something this simple that you could have handled. You got to calm down. And the seed called. He's like, why didn't you children handle this? I'm going back to bed. That's how it comes off to me in that story. But I love how Marianne Williamson is really talking about how that the Christ journey, it's a journey that was had by Jesus, but it's also an allegory for the journey of all of our lives into reconnecting with the divine. It's an absolutely beautiful book.
Thanks for tuning in to Building Consciousness with Jaguar and Jay, where we explore spiritual concepts and aim to break them down in a practical way for everyday use. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on future content. If you have thoughts or questions, drop a comment below or connect with us on Instagram, jdoss545 and build_with_Jaguar. We love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, we are the authors of our own reality. This is Jaguar and Jay, signing off.